Hey, this is Freddie Stevenson with another episode of Trials of Triumph. Today we have a special guest for you, and he's an absolute legend. College football All-American, college football national champion, a UF legend, and a former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Ahmad Black. Now, how you doing, man?
Man, don't be going on here lying, talking about legend and all that. Man, I was decent. I was okay.
He being humble, guys.
I'm well, man. Just a blessing to be here. You know what I mean? Just so excited. I get to see all the good stuff that you're doing. Man, I'm just blessed to be part of it. So,
man, shoot, it's been a blessing. Connecting with you. I'm blessed to be in your presence, man. You're talking about a legend, not just a Florida Gator, NFL player, but man, you part of one of the most historical teams in high school history with Lakeland, man. The run that y'all went on, just that journey, like, kind of, talk about that process, playing in Lakeland, being under Bill Castle, playing, the legendary matchups with St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, it was awesome, getting the opportunity to play ball with dudes who you grew up with, who you kind of, knew and familiar with. And I looked at it as basically going at it with another organization, another city, basically. Because a lot of, like, when I came through, a lot of teams around here didn't really want to play us. I mean, we played Winter Haven. We didn't play Bartow. We played the schools in Lakeland because they had to, kind of. Kathleen's our rival. I think George Jenkins was a district at the time. Lake Gibson was a district. They had just put them in there. So at that time, Lake Gibson and Lakeland they hadn't played in a meaningful game since like 95 or something like that. Now, they had played in those kickoff classic games, but they didn't count. So to be able to be part of those teams, man, I think it was a great experience, obviously. It got me to further my football career and where I wanted to be. But most importantly, now that I'm 35 years old, I can say I'm just honored to be able to be part of those teams, because now I get to bring my kids back to the Bryant Stadium and see, like, hey, your dad was on these teams. This is who I played for. And I'm forever going to be in history. You know what I mean? Along with the state championships, we were the number one team in the country twice. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm just so honored. I'm so blessed and just so happy to be part of some amazing teams that ultimately got me kind of where I wanted to be. When I used the sport of football to get me where I wanted to be.
So, looking back at it, man, you talked about the history behind Lakeland. I believe it's the top-ranked school in the state of Florida all time. When you go into other states and you mention Polk County, first thing that come out of their mouth is Lakeland High School. Yeah. So I, even though I played at Bart, so when people ask, hey, Polk County, man, Lakeland, man. That's
yeah. I got a funny story about that too, because I originally, when I came out of high school, middle school, I went to Kathleen. A lot of people don't know the history behind that as well. I played football, basketball, and baseball, and it was always a year-round thing for me because I was so athletic. I enjoyed all sports, and then when I got to 8th grade, like the third 9 weeks or the fourth 9 weeks, obviously my dad started putting in stuff for me to go to Kathleen because it was right up the road from my house. The only issue with that is where I was living in North Lakeland was zoned for George Jenkins.
Okay.
In South Lakeland. And there was no way out. First of all, George Jenkins, all due respect, not a good sports program by far at anything. And they weren't back then either. So my dad made sure that he had everything in line for me to go to Kathleen. I never stepped foot in George Jenkins. I never did a paper for George Jenkins. I never went to a practice for George Jenkins. Nothing. And I was accepted to Kathleen to be in their criminal justice program, because they didn't offer that at George Jenkins. Okay. So that's how we kind of went around it, because if you want to go to a school and they have a program that the school that you're zoned for don't have, then you can go to that school. So I had to get accepted and all of that. Yeah. So I was already ahead of the game. So one day, I get done with 8th grade. Going to 9th grade, now I'm getting ready to I'm doing summer workouts and whatnot. I remember going in there and seeing dudes in there, the juniors and seniors benching, 135. You got the big 45-pound weight on there, and me and my boys coming from middle school, we got 5s and 10s on the dumbbells. You know what I mean? On the bar. So I'm getting acclimated. Obviously I'm gonna probably play JV, which is okay with me. You know what I mean? I just want to play football and play sports. I get home one day, and we get a call, and they said, "This is the FHSAA. We just marked you ineligible for your 9th grade school year. You can't play any sports at all for 365 days." And we're like, "What? Why?" And they were like, "Well, you feel like you got recruited to Kathleen." My dad went to Kathleen. We're 5 minutes from up the road. All my friends going to Kathleen. There's no way I got recruited there. Like, I already knew as a kid I wanted to go to Kathleen. My dad went to school with Ray Lewis' dad, and they were like best friends. I don't know if people know that. Ray Lewis' dad went to Kathleen too. One of the best. He was a state champion wrestler, just like Ray Lewis was. So it's like, all right, I already knew I was going to Kathleen. And then they come out with this. So then, obviously, we went and we said okay, and we got basically a second opinion about it and see what they thought, from our point of view, how we was gonna move forward, and they were like, "We're just gonna keep you ineligible."
Dang.
So for my whole 9th grade, I didn't play not one sport. I didn't play football. I didn't play basketball. I would go to practice, which was boring because you ain't get no real reps.
You don't get. Ultimately, you love the game, and even the process. But at some point, you want your hard work to be rewarded.
So being a warrior and an athlete, and a competitor that I am, like, I ain't mind going to practice and whatnot. But what my dessert at? I'm eating all this food. I'm getting fed, but I need dessert at the end, which is the game. So it really didn't. I'm gonna tell you where it hurt me the most. Is when I see dudes that, like, no disrespect to dudes, bro. Like, everybody on their different platform as far as, like, ability. But then I go, like, right before the game and see these dudes in the locker room getting ready for the game. And I can't get ready. That's when it really, like, started hitting me. You know what I mean? First game, JV season, was against Bartow, at Bartow. I see these boys putting on their ankle tape and, putting the boot up on the spot and putting their pads on. I'm like, I done played football since I was 6 years old, and now I finally get to high school and I can't even play, which was the worst feeling ever. So I was able to go there and still, kind of make an impact in practice, but not really in the game.
Yeah. And
then 10th grade is when I really turned it up. So I really only played at Kathleen 1 year.
Okay.
Which was my 10th grade year. And I put on varsity. I never played JV. And I finished that season with 10 picks. So.
What made you go to Lakeland?
All right. What made me go to Lakeland? I kind of was getting persuaded a little bit by Chris Rainey because me and him grew up together, and we went to middle school together and whatnot. Paul Wilson was another one that we were really good friends. We grew up together. We all went to middle school, and we had just lost 3 games. So in all actuality, I lost 3 games in high school. In those 3 years that I was able to play.
I remember at my high school, we probably lost 3 games, the first 3 games of the season.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So some people can't say that. But after we probably could have won state. We had our 1,000-yard rusher get hurt against Lakeland. They beat us by 2 points. Lakeland beat us 19-17, and they won state that year. Smoked St. Thomas. That was the first state championship. I was at Kathleen. Our star running back and quarterback got hurt. So we won the first playoff game against Cocoa, which is a really good high school program. Yeah. And then we went to Miami, my senior pace, the second round, and they had dudes like Van Dyke on their team.
Okay.
Adrian Bouchel, who ultimately played with me at Florida. They had some dudes on their team. Conrad Collins, I think he played in the NFL. His dad played with the Cowboys. And we went down there, and they blocked the field goal in the fourth quarter and picked it up and ran it back and beat us 7-0.
All right.
So after that game, I'm like, all right, now I'm about to be that dude. You know what I mean? I'm ready for my next year. Out of 11 of the guys that were starting, only 3 starters came back. Me, Scott Bryant, and LeVar Thomas, who played safety. And I played corner. So sitting there and whatnot, you had a morning news at school. And we had a morning news, and the coach get up there, Coach Tate, Richard Tate. Tate get up there and was like, yeah, man, we had a great season. I'm so proud of the guys and, how they performed. And it was amazing. But at this time, I'm stepping down as Kathleen head coach.
Dang.
Man lost 4 games in 2 years at Kathleen, which is almost unheard of at Kathleen. Yeah. You know what I mean? So at that time, I'm in class next to Scott Bryant. So Scott looked over at me. He was like, "You trying to go to Lakeland?" And I'm like, "Shoot, let's go." I'm playing though. You know what I mean? I'm just feeding into the foolishness and whatnot. Man, I ain't even gonna lie. Probably about 3 or 4 days later, we sitting in that same class, and Scott reach over and give me like a little torn piece of paper, fold it up. I get the paper, I open it up. This man say, "This is my last day. I'm going to Lakeland. Don't say nothing." I'm like, dang. I was playing, but he for real. Like,
yeah, no,
and I'm like, it still ain't even finna dawn on me. I just need to come to school and don't see you. That's when it's gonna dawn on me.
Yeah.
Come to school the next day, Scott gone, bro. I'm like, jeez. I'm like, all right, whatever. So, first thing Kathleen do when they see Scott leave, they like, all right, listen, Ahmad, we finna get a new coach in. Don't leave. Like, please don't leave. Because at that time, I was playing corner. I was kick return, punt return. I warmed up against Lakeland. I warmed up at quarterback. A lot of people don't know that. I never played quarterback. I didn't play offensive snap not one time in high school. And they had me warming up at quarterback against Lakeland. So they knew I was like going to be something special. I had got my first offer already. I just got an offer from Kentucky. I got an offer from Kentucky as we're getting on the bus to go to my senior pace. So I already had an SEC offer already. So they brought in Coach Armstrong. And I don't know where this guy from. He want to run spread. We don't got no quarterback. At this time, Dominique Davis, he wasn't even playing football. He was playing just basketball.
Okay.
I grew up with Dominique, too. Me and Dominique, same class. I think they found out about Dominique because he had basketball practice one day, and something about he was outside or something, and then they asked him to throw the ball because the ball had went by him, and he launched it. And they were like, oh. Because in Little League.
Found out on accident, yeah.
Little League, I was the quarterback. Dominique played tight end. All right, so they were like, hey, we going to, this dude running the spread offense, this new coach coming in, and like he gonna take us to the promised land. I'm like, man, this dude don't know what he's talking about, man. They were like, yeah, the defense we got, we're gonna put you on the island with their best players, and I'm like, all right, like now out of 11 people, it's only me and another starter that's coming back. Scott gone. So every day they would get me out of class and bring me to the football office. Coach Taylor basketball bring me down there. He'd be like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna move forward. We need you here. And I'm like, all right. I go to church that Sunday. Coach McAllister. I don't know if you know Coach McAllister.
I don't think so.
Clinton McAllister. So he at church, and he meant no harm about what he said. I think what he was doing was just looking out for me. As a coach and a kid, he said, man, listen, that new defense that coach bringing in, we don't got the personnel to run that defense, honestly. And this is the coach telling me this, right, Kathleen?
Yeah, like, it don't benefit him telling you
that.
Yeah,
he just really looking out for me. This is where the 16? So this 15, 16-year-old me went wrong at. Then I went and told another player, hey, coach said we run this defense and we don't even really got the personnel. He really recommended me to go to Lakeland. When I said that to the teammate, he runs back and go tell the new coach.
Oh, man.
So after school one day, we was working out. We was in the weight room. So the new coach poked his head in. He was like, hey, Ma, come here. So I said, all right. So I walk out there, and he was like, did Coach – and McAllister was out there too, and Coach Shaw. So he was like, did Coach McAllister tell you that we don't have the personnel to run this defense, and you should go to Lakeland? And I'm like, I would have said, nah, bro, but he right. They both right here. I wanted to look out, but I couldn't lie, bro. He was like, don't lie. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, he told me that, but he didn't mean it in that manner.
Yeah.
Man, the new coach looked at Coach McAllister. He said, you fired.
Dang.
So McAllister say, you going to fire me over something like this? And the new coach was like, yeah. McAllister faked like he was finna take a step back. Boom.
Dang, hit him?
Yeah. They started fighting.
Oh, man.
So I'm like, whoa, like, what? This is crazy. Like, what is really going on? They broke up the fight. He fired McAllister. All right. So the football coach was like, hey, clearly we want you here. We don't want you going nowhere else. This was like the next day. He had a meeting with me again. And he was like, it was the first day of spring practice. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to stay here. I ain't going nowhere. I was like, I know it's the first day of practice. At that time, I had a daughter. She about to be 20. So she was just born. I had her at my freshman summer. I I was like, I got a job and whatnot. At this point, bro, I ain't even gonna lie. I wouldn't even think about no NFL for real. I just like to play football. I got an offer, you know what I mean? I got a kid though, so I wanted to do. That's what you think in your mind. You like, man, I need to go work for my kid.
Yeah,
because that's what they instill with you. You have a kid, you gotta make sure you pay the bills and get your kid fed. So I'm like, all right, man. I say, coach, but I got a job, man. And I got to work today. I can come to practice. It's spring practice now, mind you. I just had 10 picks as a sophomore, like 4 or 5 touchdowns, something like that. And it's like, I'm the best player on the team. Everyone's gone, literally everyone. I was the only sophomore that was starting. He was like, yeah, you can leave a couple minutes early. We don't got a problem with that. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm out there and I'm looking at my watch and stuff, and I'm like, man, it's getting late. I already done went past the time I was supposed to be there. You know what I mean? I said, coach, I got to go. He get mad and frustrated. So I'm looking at him, and like the way he talked to me, then he had another assistant coach that said something crazy to me. And I'm like, you just told me it was going to be all right, when we had this meeting earlier.
Yeah.
I go, change my clothes, whatever, leave, go home. I got to get ready for work now. But as I walk in the door, my dad's in the living room, and he's like sitting there watching TV, and I say, man, Dad, I want to go to Lakeland. I don't even want to be at Kathleen. And then when I put on my clothes, and I walked out and went to work. I came back from work. My dad, back then, we didn't have no computer. We had like a typewriter, like a little typewriter. My dad done typed up transfer papers, everything I needed to go to Lakeland. And I'm like, if you for real, I'm for real, shoot. Because I ain't never think my dad was going to do that because he a Kathleen alum.
Yeah. Looking out for his kid.
All right, the next day, we go to Kathleen. Now I got to get my transcripts and stuff for Kathleen. So we go in there and we're like, hey, my son want to transfer. Can we get the transcript so we can go to a new school? They said, hold on, wait. And went and got Coach Lineberger. I love Coach Lineberger. Like, there ain't no shots at him, but I know he just wanted to make sure I stayed there. You know what I mean? Instead of him coming back to talk to me and my dad with my transcripts, they called the FHSAA.
Dang.
So it's the second time these people calling on me, a team calling on me. So now, they said, hey, I can't transfer in the middle of the season. Or middle of the school year. Scott just left. So Scott playing spring football at Lakeland. I leave the first day of spring, and they said I can't even transfer until the school year's over. So imagine the bind this put me in. So now you're telling me, 15-year-old kid, 16-year-old kid, you can't transfer out of here to the rival school. And by the way, you got to finish the school year at this school, and everyone know you're leaving.
Dang. Yeah, that's tough.
So they start doing silly stuff to me, like giving me ISS, making me get lunch detention. Like I was with Tom Murray one time. We had went to the next class over because they had like a little store, you get the honey buns and all that. The teacher talking about she don't know where we went. We was right next door. So she wrote us up. We went to the office. I saw them get Tom Murray, his referral and rip it up. And they gave me lunch.
There was a target on your back now.
Yeah.
So once the school year ends, you end up at Lakeland.
Yes.
And ultimately, we know how that ended.
How that went. Yeah.
So
I think the hardest part too was the build up to playing that Lakeland Kathleen game.
Yeah.
It was a real build up because my 9th grade year, Kathleen was undefeated. Lakeland was 6-3, and they canceled the game. Lakeland said they had meningitis, which they did. I done met with a doctor who called. I worked with him. Dr. Haight. Dr. Haight said they really had meningitis there.
Okay.
So out in the community, they're like, nah, y'all ain't have meningitis. Y'all just ain't want to lose to Kathleen. Because at that time, Kathleen had never beat Lakeland since Ray Lewis in '92. So they were like, nah, y'all was just running from Kathleen. Y'all ain't want to play Kathleen. So then my sophomore year, we played them. It was really anticipated because Lakeland was undefeated and we had lost one game at the time. So after that, now Scott Bryant left, Ahmad Black left, and I'm finna play Lakeland Kathleen again, but now them boys on Lakeland. So, and then, by the way, Kathleen had lost like one game. So we were undefeated and they had lost like one game.
Yeah, I remember around that time that's coming up. Because a lot of people don't know, even though I went to Bartow, I grew up in Lakeland. So you hear the Lakeland and Kathleen, like that was a real, it's different now, but that was a real event. Everybody came out for that game every single year.
Heck
and Kathleen was a dog.
Yeah.
You know, so it was actually you didn't know which way it was gonna go. Even though Lakeland was, even though y'all were who y'all were, that was a real like rivalry at that point.
Even when Kathleen wasn't really that good, people still went to that Lakeland Kathleen game. We got to look at it, you know, from a different eye view right now. You know, when we look at high school games and we be like, oh, you know, somebody like when the Bartow played Fort Meade, it was packed probably.
Yeah.
Bartow played George Jenkins, super packed back in the day. Why? There's no social media. I'm shout out my boy Tyrell Lucas right now. My boy Tyrell Lucas. Every time it's a Lakeland game or a big game, he's on. He get on his Facebook. He go Facebook Live. He show the game. I swear it's 250, 300 people on there. Those are 300 people that'll be in that stadium.
Yeah. Now they
don't have to do that anymore. Yeah. There's so many streaming websites too that, you know, a lot of these schools, these big time schools, have their own streaming on YouTube and whatnot. You just click the link and you can go. And you can watch the game right there from your couch. You know what I mean? So back then, there was none of that. So you had to go to the game. And people wanted to be there. I mean, obviously, we're the number one team in the country, literally.
Yeah.
In high school. So it's like everybody wanted to be there. And just the anticipation of that game was awesome. It was just an amazing environment. So, again, you know, that goes back to being blessed to be able to play at that time, in that time period. Now, these guys now, they got way more kind of, you know, resources and whatnot than we did. But back then, I feel like it was super fun because everybody getting ready for the game. I remember that's when the time changed, too, in November. So when the time changed and then the air smelled different because it's getting a little cooler and it feel a little different outside, nah, it's Lakeland Kathleen.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember as being a kid, bro. And being able to go play that was amazing.
Yeah, good. And then talk about being the number one team in the country in high school.
Yeah.
Those matchups with St. Thomas and Quinn is like, what's the mindset going into them games? Because those matchups were crazy.
Well, it was really crazy, you know, just being the number one team in the country in high school. It's wild. You know, you open a USA Today, and I remember Coach Castle opening the paper and wanted to rip it in half because he didn't believe we were the number one team in the country. You know what I mean? And, you know, every single game they wanted to beat Lakeland. And we would just smoke people, just smoking them. And, you know, just, you know, going to practice every day, iron sharpening iron. I'm playing against the Pounceys every day. Well, everyone talks about the Pouncey twins. Don't know that we had the number one D tackle in the country, literally. So the number one D tackle in the country is going against the Pouncey twins every single day at practice. You don't think they're getting better?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? So, you know, just being around that, you know, being on the number one team in the country also got me my first plane ride ever. I never been on a plane until I went to Lakeland. My senior year, we go play Luke Kinkley and St. Xavier in the Ohio versus World.
Yeah.
I never been on a plane before. Like, I was so excited. It was a lot of guys' first time ever being on a plane. The excitement was unreal. You know what I mean? And we go play St. Xavier, and they got Luke Kuechly on the team. Like, mind you, I'm not joking. So up in Ohio, they got a lot of like Catholic schools and you know, private schools and whatnot. They have an all-boys school and all-girls schools. So imagine having a school of 3,000 people, but it's all boys. They got 100 people on their football team. I'm like, man, there's no way they got 100 people on their football team. They came out the locker room, and it was literally 100 people on their football team, which is the wildest thing I ever seen. So imagine us, we come out, we never played on turf before. Mind you, it's daytime. We're in Ohio. We playing at Cincinnati Stadium. And we just out there with our spat on our cleats. We slipping on the turf. First kickoff, Rainey ran it back. So let's just start there.
Yeah.
Rainey ran the first kickoff back for a touchdown, Gator chomp. I'm like, all right, you know, no disrespect to the white boys. We about to blow these white boys out, and we about to go home. No. They was nice. They were super nice. And we ended up going to double overtime or something like that. And we won. Stephen Wilkes intercepted the pass. I mean, we were in cover two. I'll never forget. We were in cover two. Split safeties. You know, obviously in cover two. The weak part of the defense is in between the safeties. They ran like a seam bender with a tight end. I mean, split right through us. I just remember looking over and seeing the ball in the air and looking down and seeing the dude wide open. And I'm like, oh, crap. Like, they finna do it. We done came all the way to Ohio messing with these people, and they done beat us. And then I just see Wilkes come out of nowhere and just pick it off. And I'm like, whoa. And we won the game. You know what I mean? So that was awesome. Then we fast forward to going to play St. Thomas. At that time, man, St. Thomas. So my sophomore year, my junior year was the year that we were number 1 in the country, and St. Thomas was 4.
Okay.
So they called that mythical national championship.
Yeah.
Because St. Thomas beat us, of course, they beat the number 1 team in the country. They're going to jump to number 1.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they like the number 2 and number 3 team play each other. They probably in 2 totally different states, which it don't even matter because they win the state championship and they're not beating the number 1 team in the country. You know what I mean? So we go out there in the first play of the game, we go deep on them. We want to try to see what they got. 70-yard touchdown. Boom. I'm like, oh. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be a dogfight. And we beat them handily that year. I mean, the thing about when we played St. Thomas in those championships is the defense really turned it up, and we caused turnovers. And both times that I played in my junior and senior year, the turnover differential was probably like 8 to like 3, something like that. Randy fumbled one time, and we like fumbled another time. But we was just intercepting the ball, causing turnovers and whatnot, and that's what made the game look way crazier than what it was.
Yeah.
And like also like they getting hit in the mouth because they playing teams down there who aren't Lakeland.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we don't have the money like St. Thomas, but it's history. They can't play with us. I don't know what it is. It's just we out tough them every single time.
Yeah.
And out of I think the 6 or 7 times that we played St. Thomas, dating back to '96, we done beat them in the state championship like 5 times. I don't even know if you know we beat them in '96.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
St. Thomas. Yeah.
I think it's Polk County, man. This people from Polk County. It's just
they played. We played them again in '97, and that was the year I think dude was wide open for Lakeland. I think it's Jimmy Frizzell, and he caught it, and the ref tripped him. You know the back judge, the one back by the secondary.
Tripped him on purpose?
Nah.
Oh.
Tripped him by accident,
Oh.
and he was finna score. Well, when he tripped him, obviously he down. They didn't score. They kicked the field goal.
Dang.
And they ended up losing. So that time, and then in 2008 when St. Thomas had a mega team they had in 2000 they had both Bosa brothers, had James White at running back, Giovanni Bernard at running back, had Chris Carter's son at wide receiver. It was an amazing team.
Yeah.
Not even. I mean, when we played them, they had I think their whole offensive line my junior year went D1. You had Marcus Gilbert go to Florida. You had the center go to Notre Dame. You had the guard go to Notre Dame. You had another guy go to Maryland. Those dudes was really, really big. And then on top of that, you got Major right on the other side. Mm-hmm. And Major, me and Major, we close as ever, because obviously we played together in Florida and whatnot. But, man, I'm going to tell you, I seen Major hit some dudes I seen Major hit a dude one time in that game, and the dude never played football again. Now, he was a senior. Dog, he ran a reverse. Neither one of the penalties blocked Major. I don't know how they missed him or, they blocked somebody else. And, Major smoked them. So there was some great games, man, just to have an opportunity to be out there and then to see Chris Carter.
Yeah.
Somebody I watched on TV, to see a Michael Irvin, somebody I watched on TV. You know what I mean? It definitely gave us a great experience. Jason Taylor used to be down there. And the games were in Miami, so it would make it easier for those guys just to ride up the road to see the game. So I enjoyed playing against St. Thomas for real, because I know every time we play them, it's gonna be a great matchup.
So you fast forward, you signed with the Gators, man. Playing on some of the best teams, in college football history. But the thing that people don't realize is the journey for you was tough. They didn't really want you to get on the field. So how were you able to overcome that and make a name for yourself so that you were able to have the career that you ended up having?
I'm gonna skip all the freshman year part because first of all, I went there playing corner. So let's just start there. My first weigh-in at the University of Florida, I was 155 pounds.
Dang.
No one wanted a safety at 155 pounds. D1 at the University of, mind you, it's not just Florida. I committed June of 2006. The football season didn't start till September 2006, right? I committed in June. I'd never been to a Gator game before. I committed. That's how wild that is. I never even been in the swamp at a game. So my first game being there was that following season. It was I know how you guys feel about Florida State and whatnot. I know you were there at different times, but when I was getting recruited, Florida State games weren't really that fun.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to a million of them, and it was because I was a Florida State fan growing up. So it was like, I get it. It's Florida State. Hey, woo. You know what I mean? Because at that time, Bobby Bowden was doing this.
Yeah.
He was on his way out of there.
Yeah.
I went to my first Florida game and just fell in love because, no matter what the circumstances is, they're going to be in there loud, And I'm like, all right, I like this a little bit. You know what I mean? So fast forward to all that. I went to every game. They won the national championship in 06. I was a mid-year, so I went in 07, January 07, and I had just got there. So I'm 155 pounds on the national championship team. By the way, their safety was just Reggie Nelson. You finna put Ahmad Black out there at 155? No, absolutely not. So they moved me to corner. So my whole freshman year, I played corner up until Florida State game.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they were like, hey, we want to try you at safety. End up going to safety. So played it, that season ended. Out of 12 games, I played in 7, which was special teams.
Mm-hmm.
I played Florida State at corner a little bit at the end of that game. And then now it's going to the spring. So now we going into the spring of the next year, and I got better. Obviously, I'm back to safety, doing what I like to do. It's my element. That's why I got, scholarship offers playing safety because I was really good playing safety, not corner. I'm not saying I couldn't do it, but like I don't have the speed and the makeup to run behind Percy Harvin, Andre Caldwell, Lewis Murphy, Brandon James, Deontay Thompson. I can't chase those guys up and down the field. Yeah. Give me a little head start and let me put my thinking in my head, my thinking cap on, and I can see the formation and all that. Now we talking about something different. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we go to spring practice. I ball out. I get a couple interceptions in spring practice, and but I'm still third string on the depth chart. I'm the third string strong safety. All right. Play the spring game. Boom. 70,000 people there. Tebow just won the Heisman the year before. So, of course, they're going to pack the stadium in there. I get an interception. I'm feeling myself now. Because my make a play grade was how many times you have an opportunity to make a play. They wanted to be 75 or above to grade out champion in the secondary. So if you got an opportunity to make a play on a pass and you knock it down, then you 1 for 1. You go and miss a tackle, now you 1 for 2. But they want that percentage to be over 75.
Okay.
I was like 85, 86% make a play grade. All right. So now we're going to off season. I'm third string strong safety. All right. So we start doing stuff where obviously the offense know the plays and whatnot. We had a phase where no coaches could be on the field. Mm-hmm. All right. Offense on one field, defense on the other field. We doing like defensive drills over here, no coaches. They doing offensive plays over here, no coaches. As we walking past, they say something to us, we say something to them. Because right now, we playing each other. We ain't no game. It's the summertime.
Yeah.
Percy Harvin went to go talking that crazy. And these dudes want to talk crazy about the P. All right, line it up then. We out here. We know our plays. Y'all know y'all plays. Line it up. Boom. They try us deep. Strong safety back there. Dorian Monroe, the number 1 safety. He go to make a play on the ball, and he come up ginger. Like, he limping a little bit. So we like, whatever, So that's when we kind of like stopped it. You know what I'm saying? We went in the locker room. And me and Major, I remember we kind of like, because we thought it was, we just thought he hurt his little leg or something. So we was like kind of like messing with him in the locker room and whatnot. This man tore ACL, bro.
Dang.
He had waited behind Tony Joyner from Polk County, you know what I mean, and waited a year or 2 behind him. He was going to be the next dude in line. So when Demo tore his ACL, man, we was all hurt and devastated by that because, like, this is going to be our starting safety. You know what I mean? Now, even though I'm competing with this dude, he's like my brother. You feel me? Because he, we go to war together. We go to meetings together. We go eat together. We do everything together. So instead of them moving the second string safety, strong safety up the first string and meet it from third to second, they moved the walk-on from free safety to first string strong safety. He had already tore his ACL before. So he was going to be a senior, though. So now I'm like, dang, I played really good in the spring. I ain't even getting no look, but whatever. I got my second year, bro. And I ain't even redshirted my first year, so they should have probably redshirted me, but whatever. The next day, from when D-Mo tore his ACL, we doing drills, right? Boom. He tear his. The next dude.
Dang.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
We like, dang, like back-to-back days. So now I'm really the second string now because the third string guy then moved up the first string. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, the second string guy finally got up the first string. I'm the third one. I'm finally moved to second. So we working out and stuff. You know what I mean? I come home. I remember being at my house, And I look at the ESPN at the bottom. It says, because we came home for a couple weeks because, you know, you get the breaks and whatnot. It says Florida safety, you know, Jamar Hornsby kicked out of school for theft. He was using a lady that passed away. He had her credit card before she passed. And when she passed, he still was using it at like the gas stations. He a solid dude, man. I love Jamar to this day, bro. I don't think he meant to do it.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I went from third string, really fourth string technically.
Probably not about to play at all, and then
I'm starting without even playing a practice.
Mm-hmm.
We in the off season where we just like lifting weights and stuff. So I go back to school, and Coach Mark Campbell, he put me to the side. You know, he played with the Gators like 90, 94, 95. He was one of our strength coaches, and he was like, "Man, you gotta tighten up. Like now is your time to show what you can do. All that playing and all that you did freshman year, you passed that, bro. Like you got to show. Like it's your time." And bro, we went out there for fall camp, bro, and they were like, "Oh, we just signed the #1 player in the country, Will Hill." And they like, he gonna come in and start. And I'm like, oh, here we go. You know what I mean? But there was a lot of trials and tribulations I had when I got there as a freshman to learn how to be a college player, to learn how to be an SEC player, how to learn how to take care of my body off the field. It's not just football on the field. Now I got to go to class. Now I got to go to study hall. You know what I mean? And those are the type of things that are going to keep you off the field.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So Will Hill come in. I mean, he looked the part. He big, he fast, he strong. You know what I mean? And, I think he was still raw at safety.
Yeah.
Because he played everything. He played quarterback, he played wide receiver, he played, you know what I mean? He played safety, but that's all I did. I didn't play offense. So I know what's going on. I think he was still raw a little bit. And when he came in, he started doing the same little freshman stuff I was doing. Not taking care of his body, pulling muscles, not going to class for real, late to meetings. And then me, on the other hand, now it's my second year. Actually, it's my sophomore year, and I came early. So I had a spring, a fall, another spring, and now we in the fall. And I just balled out. So now, I think Urban was like even skeptical on like, should I play this kid, you know, or not? I don't think he's big enough. I don't think he's fast enough. And then Coach Heater, which is my DB coach, he was like, man, I think he earned the stripes. Let's let him spin. And boom, my first game I had 2 picks and ran one back to the crib, 80 yards. I ain't never looked back. Yeah. By the way, I led the country in picks that year.
Yeah, I mean, just ultimately what you're breaking down, the trials and tribulations that you're going to go through from that transition from high school to college. I don't think a lot of young players understand that, especially in this era now where everybody's being told how great they are. It's like, man, you going to, like you said, you Percy Harvin, all these guys, #1 players in the country. You going to schools with guys that just as good as you, if not better. Yeah. So what are you willing to do to separate yourself?
Yes.
And you could have threw in the towel. Like now, I know a lot of people now in this time of era, they hear they 4th string or see it. Most people want to transfer.
Yeah.
You stuck it out.
Yeah.
And not even just you, just thinking about Emmitt Smith's story. People like that were counted out and then they were willing to grind through and came out on top, and now you a Gator great. Emmitt Smith's a Gator great.
I'm going to one-up you. So that year was the year, I don't know if anybody remember this, but that's the year Matt Grothy was at USF.
Okay, yeah.
They were #2 in the country. So a lot of people don't know this story either. So now Marquise Pouncey, Steelers, was starting. I think dude broke his ankle. So Marquise was starting in the place of that dude we had. I think it was Jim Tart or something like that. No, I can't remember. Somebody broke the ankle and he filled in. But not Mike, though. And then I wasn't playing either. And I'm like, USF look real good down there.
Yeah.
Go back home. And then Mike, because we all roommates. We live in the same dorm. The Pouncey was on one side. Me and Paul Wilson on the other. We shared a bathroom. And then Mike like, shoot, they do sound good. You know what I mean? And Marquise like, shoot, if my brother go, I'm sliding.
Yeah, I already know.
You know, I know what time it is. Man, one day I go to my locker, right, and I'm you know, pre-practice, you get your jersey and your strap out your little small locker. It was almost like that Juice scene where dude shut the locker and Tupac be behind it. You ever seen that little video? I shut the locker, man, and Herb was right there. He was like, I heard you trying to transfer. And I ain't gonna lie, bro. I got scared. I was like, nah, coach, what you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, nah. He was like, good. I wasn't gonna sign any transfer papers, no way.
Dang.
Well, yeah, no choice but to stick it out anyway.
Yeah, no choice.
And, you know, while I'm here, let's make the best of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And we rocked it out, you know. So I'm kind of glad that I think we were thinking in on emotion anyway. Mm-hmm. So I kind of know what these kids are thinking about.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And yeah, you know, and you know, they got the option. We really ain't had it. You know.
Now you say it. That's
you
true.
know what I mean?
Yeah, we ain't had the option.
But also, I'm glad I didn't have that option because what you gonna do? You gonna barbecue? You gonna mildew? You gonna get tough or you gonna fold?
That's what life all about. Like
everywhere.
Every time adversity come up, you jump in ship, and it's not just the players, because I feel like some of them are being taught that from the higher level. They see the people above them, the coaches doing it. When the opportunity come, they jump in ship. But I feel like down the line, when true adversity hits, if you always jump in ship, like that's what you gonna do when they. All
right, stay there. So I see a lot of these people say that. When they say, "Oh, well, the coaches can do this and that and that." Man, dude's been doing that since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
All right. So because it always been a stigma of this isn't a business, you NCAA. Mm-hmm. The business part is when you get to the NFL. All right. It always been like a fine line to where the coaches are the business standpoint, and the players in the college game are just student athletes. So I get it. But if you're going to say, hey, the coach leaving this like a business, all right, cool. So when I tell you somebody come in and take your spot, it's a business, right?
Yeah.
People in the NFL don't quit and leave the team. You got to stick it out.
Yeah,
what you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a guy on the college game in the high school and you want to say, oh, the coach can leave and do all that, okay, cool. We could treat you like business too. But you can't want business on this side, and then on this side
you can't. Yeah,
you can't have both, bro.
You can't have both.
See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think they got to understand is like, if the coach leave, yes, you can leave too, but what does that do about your name and your legacy?
Mm-hmm.
To me, that meant the most. That's everything. Like I text Herb now, I call him and text him and be like, man, remember this time? You probably don't, but you remember this meeting you had when you told us that we need to go to class and get a degree because one day we're going to be pumping gas and we ain't going to have enough money if we don't get no degree. And we're going to pull the gas thing out of our car real quick, you know what I mean, because we don't have the money to pay for it. I took that advice. I went to school. I went back and got my degree to make sure I can be able to support my family. Coach Meyer, remember you said one day your kid's going to say, hey, Dad, what did you do at Florida? And you want to have something to show for him. I go to Florida. I got pictures all over the place. I got my name all over the place. Team captain, All-American, like all of that. So it's things that kind of we gotta learn and teach these kids that sports isn't everything. I know we got that stigma that sports is everything. Mm-hmm. I get it. Ball is everything. It's not.
Yeah.
Ball is everything when you want it to teach you life lessons, if that's how you want to look at it. Yes, football gonna teach you, basketball gonna teach you, baseball, soccer, volleyball, whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. It should teach you life lessons to be able to navigate through this hard life that we have to live.
Yeah, I feel like football is meant, especially if you utilize it the right way.
Yeah.
Create a platform. You learn lessons along the way that prepare you to walk in your purpose after you're done playing the game. That's the way I look at it.
You know, people always, I remember I was a kid, everybody want to be famous. Mm-hmm. But what's famous? You want to go places where people don't, like, recognize you? You want to go to where you can't walk in the mall? You know, like how famous do you want to be? I think I went right to where I was thinking about. I was in a coffee shop this morning and I hear dudes, it was 3 guys talking and the dude said, that's Ahmad Black, he's played with the Gators. That made me feel good inside because that means everything that I went out to strive to get, I was able to get that. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I pride myself on is I don't go to clubs. I haven't been to a club in like 8 years, almost 10 years. I don't drink. I stay out the way because now my kids at the age now where they can Google. Google is everything. Mm-hmm. And when they Google my name, my daughter come home and say, my friends Googled you. How crazy would it be if I had some stuff on there that I don't want them to see? Think about it. That's why I don't do stuff. That's why I don't like to do a lot of things because I feel like my name, my last name, and my word is all I got. Can't mess that up. Mm-hmm. Because one day you're gonna have somebody run around and want to see what you did, want to be like you.
Yeah.
So again, it's all blessings to me, man. I know we ain't got this far yet, but just being able to have my name called on draft day.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, to my favorite team,
the Bucs.
That's crazy, right?
Let's talk about it. Like that. As a kid, I know you said you weren't thinking about the NFL early on in your career, but then once you found out you were good, now you realize it's a reality. So to actually live that out,
I'm gonna tell you when I knew, I was like, man, I'm about to go to the league, bro. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I picked them boys off in the national championship game, and when I was leading the country in picks, I'm going to the NFL, man. I don't care. Who y'all talking about? Eric Berry? All right. Here's the crazy part. I'm gonna give you a crazy stat. Eric Berry, one of the best safeties I ever seen play. Besides his play on the field, his work ethic is unbelievably not even arguing probably the best I've ever seen a safety work. Like, it was unreal how hard this man worked. And I get it. He deserves every single thing he gets because he was really good. Mm-hmm. Do you know our numbers were identical? Literally to the tackle.
Aye.
He went 7th overall. I went 5th round.
Aye.
I'm just blessed to be here, bro.
Yeah.
But I don't like comparing. But if you want to talk about it,
that's just we understand that in sports it's a political aspect to it,
man.
And
it's
that's just not even just sports in life.
Yeah.
Think about the people that are working every single day. They grind, and they may be the one that's best suited for that promotion, but because they're not cool with certain people on the job, they're not going to get it. Because they don't know the right people, they may not get a certain opportunity. Right. And that's how the NFL works as well, and a lot of other industries. NFL, if your agent is connected with this team or the golf buddies, that's the game.
I was sitting in the locker, in the team room, man. It's so funny because I was able to see three different preseasons, and obviously I was on I made the team 3 times. You know what I mean? So I was there, all through the season when you get to hit the rookie wall and doing all this, and you in week 12 and you're like, all right, is this thing over yet? And then you at week 14, you're like, dang, we still playing games? Because in college, you playing.
What was it, 10 games?
Yeah, and then you play preseason. Back then, there were 4 preseason games, so it was like, golly. And but when you go in for preseason, it's so packed. Like, dudes are standing around the walls, everything, because everybody getting this opportunity. Mm-hmm. And then little by little, made a friend. You like, oh shoot, I remember you, man. I heard your name. I played against you. You trying to go to the cafe? Go get you some food. And then in between practices, in between meetings, you with that same dude. Until one day you gonna go in there and they're gonna be like, hey, bring your stuff.
Bring that playbook.
And it's over with. And you don't never see Buddy no more. It's so funny. I be going to Facebook and I be seeing some of the dudes I was cool with, you know what I'm saying, back then. And it's like, dang. And then every week you just see it get emptier and emptier and emptier. And then you realize it. And then once you make that final 53, you like, yes, you can put your hair down. You like, man, I made it. But it's a blessing. And we spoke about it on Twitter yesterday. It's like we see the odds, of making it to the NFL or making
Let's
the pro.
talk. I want to go to that. So after 3 years, your career came to an end. Like, talk about that transition mentally for you.
I talked about it today too, man. So that's one of the things that I want to get with Lakeland Regional and get with some of these high school players with, to kind of give them a heads up and an understanding of what's about to happen. Mm-hmm. So my last year was like my last playing game was 2013. 14, I was still flirting. I had a couple workouts. 15, I was still kind of, and I'm like, nah, this ain't. I'm done. I knew when I was done. I went to the Redskins workout. Man, I wasn't in shape by far. They called me on a Wednesday and said, can you be here Friday? And I'm like, yeah. I just wanted a free trip. I was tired of being at home, and I wanted to go, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. And I went up there, man, and I was terrible. I ain't gonna lie. I was awful. I weighed 172 pounds, and I'm like, man, I am not playing football no more. But I knew right then and there, man, I had to hang it up. But that's when kind of reality hit me. Is like, what are you gonna do next? You got to understand that we have these goals to go play in the NFL or the NBA or WNBA or whatever from since we first get introduced to the sport, you know what I mean? And then I made it. Like I can open my phone and look at what my retirement gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
If I, my pension gonna be, I can look at it. My 401k, I can look at it. You know what I mean? So I'm everything. Since I've been in the league, they probably paid me like close to $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a couple grievance check, grievance check and all that. So, I can't even imagine a kid in high school that don't even get to go to college. What their mental is like. A kid that's in college who don't get to go pro. What their mental is like. I didn't have to go through that, but kinda, because I was able to still play professionally. I think that we have to get better with our mental health as far as having a plan. I spoke at Victory's football camp with Kendra Stewart a week or two ago, and it's so funny because it's a group of kids, and I said, hey, who all wants to go to the NFL? Every single kid raised their hand, which is okay. I get it because I've been there. I see my dudes who I grew up with now, and I remember being in that same, taking that same knee, raising our hand, we want to go to the NFL. And I'm the only one out of everyone who did it. Literally. Everyone on our team that raised their hand. And I'm the only one. So everybody raised their hand, and I said, all right, how many doctors and lawyers do we have in the stands? And not one person raised their hand, which is okay because they little still. They still trying to get it figured out. I said, okay, which is crazy. I said, you got option A over here. So option A is you have better odds of being successful. The success rate is through the roof. You control every part of it. This option A. It's up here. Option B is down here, where the success rate is not that high. The success rate is not that great. The longevity in that career is not that long. But what would you rather do? This is a success rate up here and this job down here. They said they want an A. Good. That's the doctor and lawyer. This the football player that you just raised your hand about, way down here.
Mm-hmm.
If we break it down to him like that,
truly puts it in the perspective.
Put it in perspective for him. Because right now, we got a society where everybody going pro, they score a first touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody going to the league. I get it, bro. But the odds of you doing that is super slim to none. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm going to go on record and say best safety to probably come through the county. Top 3 easy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't care how you want to spend it. And I played 3 years. So I use my own self to say, hey, I'm one of the best to ever play. I didn't do it for long.
Yeah.
Now, it's perks that come behind it. It's like I get to walk still. I get to have my mental still.
Mm-hmm.
Get to be with my family still. You know what I mean? Now, would I wanted to play for 10 years? Absolutely. You know what I mean? But now I got to look at the bright side and not, thank God for what he did for me and not what he didn't do for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at it. So it's like I'm not going to harp on that I didn't play long. I get the same thing Tom Brady get. He played 20 years. Probably not the same amount.
Yeah.
But he get a retirement. I get a retirement.
Yeah.
He get the pension and 401k. I get everything. I got all the benefits. I got every benefit that NFL has. They can offer to me because I played the threshold 3 years. So I just kind of I laugh at people when people say, "Oh, you didn't play long enough."
Yeah. You always have the people that try to. We talked about it the other day. If you had the opportunity to even walk in for a workout, that's a blessing because, man, I remember, I don't know if it was against the Cardinals or the Broncos, but we were warming up. Mm-hmm. Running backs were warming up, and there's a guy came in. He was on a wheelchair. He's like, man, you guys don't know what I would do just to be able to run out that tunnel. It just truly puts things into perspective, man. Yeah. It's like, man, of course I would have loved my career to be long, but like you said, you don't know what God's protecting you from. Yep. And then to see some of the opportunities that he's providing in our lives, now it's like, man, nah, this was meant to play out just how I played it out.
Yeah, so it's a plan, man, and it's hard to kind of foresee what your plan is going to be because it's not our plan.
Yeah, without a doubt. You just gotta trust that plan. Like going back and looking at your story, you coming in, you were the guy that nobody wanted. Then you come in and you become one of the best DBs in UF history.
And it's crazy because the all-time interception record was 15. I ended with 13, and I had 2 interceptions called back.
Dang.
We ain't gonna talk about that. We gonna just let that, we gonna let that be. But
we gonna give you the Devin Haney then.
Yeah, give me the Devin Haney. Yeah, I'm up there. You know what I mean?
He undefeated, but he really ain't undefeated.
You know what I'm saying?
We saw what we saw.
We saw what we saw. You can't unsee what we seen already. But at the end of the day, man, any accolade or anything like that, I didn't play football to get accolades. Mm-hmm. I never one time said I wanted to be all-time leader and nothing. I didn't even say that. I wanted to play football. I wanted to have fun. The accolades and stuff for my kids and my family. When I'm long and gone, I want them to just have something to look at. I don't really care about that. I got 8 rings, bro. I won as a coach. I won as a player. Mm. What else is there to do? You know what I mean? I got this on. It's the only ring I really even wear.
That's
you know what I mean?
Man.
Yeah. So I don't really need any more rings or anything like that. So now I'm just here to kind of guide this next generation on what they should be doing, and give them tips on how to get there.
Yeah.
Right? I'm never going to tell them what they should be doing because. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want them to be like, oh, shoot, here come I. He's going to tell us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like you're preaching.
Yeah, bro. But I want to, if you got any questions, I'm not the guy that's going I just coached 6 dudes that went D1 playing DB. Mm-hmm. Won a state championship. I mean, coaching Kamani, bro, they were just every day. I would open, just at any given time, I would open Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and dudes write me, hey, man, you better get Kamani. If you don't get Kamani, I'm like, how you? Me and Kamani don't talk about that. We talk about what coverage we finna be in this game right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm his coach. We gonna talk about what we doing this week in this game. We ain't finna talk about, unless he come to me and say, hey, coach, what do you suggest? What are your options? You know what I mean? Then I'll talk to him about that. But if we ain't talking about that, I'm not finna bring that up because what was the best opportunity for me might not be the best for him. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So. I'm just so excited to be able to watch a lot of these kids from our area just to go on and prolong and go play football.
Without a doubt.
I ain't say you had to go pro, but let's get your school paid for.
And take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, because getting that school paid for should be the goal. Mm. Everybody listening, that's what, I love, obviously I love my wife to death. My wife graduated 4.5 GPA in high school. Graduated with honors at Florida. And we got to pay student loans back, which is okay. You know what I mean? She worked her butt off and got her degree, and now we can walk in our house and have 2 degrees on our wall from Florida. But I don't got student loans, so I was able to maximize my ability and maximize on the opportunity that I was given. And I think all the kids should have that goal because your regular life show is way bigger than your sports life. Mm-hmm. The quicker we realize that, and the quicker we understand that, man, the quicker I think we'll be successful in doing other things. Not saying that you shouldn't play sports because maybe you are that 1%. You never know unless you try, but also make sure you have, I'm going to sound cliche, the backup plan.
Yeah, without a doubt.
You know what I mean?
So you played on the 08 Florida team, one of the best college football teams of all time. I played on the 2013
We're going to beat y'all.
FSU National Championship team.
Beat y'all.
We match up. Who wins?
Us. You want to know why?
Tell me what.
I know you love Jameis Winston. He gonna throw us 3 or 4 on.
College?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, because he threw 26 in 2 years.
In college?
Yeah.
In college?
Yeah.
He threw 26 in college?
Yeah. Yes.
Look at that, man. He threw 26 in 2 years?
Yes.
Man, we gonna listen. I like to talk the bottom. QB, y'all got Tebow. Jameis a better thrower of the football.
He gonna throw it to us. I agree with you. That we led the country in interceptions. I led them as an individual, and as a team, we led the country.
So you think y'all match up with us? You think the 08 Florida team versus 2013 FSU team?
Who are you gonna throw the ball to? That's the next question.
You got KB, Kevin Benjamin,
Joe Hayden.
Come on now, he's 6'6".
I don't care nothing about
KB
that.
Gonna do what he do.
You know who Joe?
He gonna get his.
You know who Joe had to guard every week?
Who?
Kevin Benjamin was not better than Julio Jones. No, he was not better than AJ Green. No. He was not better than Alshon Jeffries. No. He was not better than Cobb in Kentucky that played with Green Bay. No. That's what we going against every week.
He being a little biased, guys. So, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to leave it for everybody on social media.
I got a great idea. Hopefully they do it. let's put it on the game, bro, and put it and let it simulate and see what it do.
Okay. Yeah.
That'll be awesome to just watch. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna give respect where it's due. You know, you guys had a great team. I had this argument with Peter Warwick all the time too. I call Pete and be like, Pete, we strapping y'all, and Pete just always come back with the funniest answer ever, bro. And he just, and I just bust out laughing because, you know, just to be even in that conversation. When you got dudes like, hey, who the best team ever? And then you got 2013 Florida State. You got 05 Texas. You're going to have like 04, 05 USC. And then you're going to have 08 Gators and 01 Miami. Nobody really cares about nothing else. In the 50s and the 60s, we don't care about them teams. Maybe like a 94 Nebraska. You know what I mean? Florida was hot in 96 too with scoring. But, you know, just to be even in that conversation.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
You know what I'm saying?
It's real.
Yeah, bro. So I have fun with having
these conversations. It's all fun. Like I got the highest level of respect for y'all and what y'all do.
Absolutely.
Even through the rivalry and everything. I got the highest level of respect. I think that's why the rivalry is what it is.
For sure.
But to go see you make, knowing you, watching you, seeing you make the impact that you made is special, man. And not only that, seeing what you went on to do, what you're doing now to impact lives after the game. Appreciate you, man. I'm proud of you for sure.
Look, I just got one request from you, bro. Stop putting that touchdown you scored against us, bro. I'm tired of looking at that, man. You need to just throw that tape out and just go and throw it out.
You throw your tapes out there. Wait, what you talking about?
You can put
I played fullback.
You can put all the tapes on you want except that play. Except that play.
The fullback to take his few touchdowns out. Like we didn't
just
get the ball,
one,
man.
Bro. Just that one,
man.
Just that one.
Nah,
it was a good run, though. Yeah. I can't take nothing from you. I'll tell you this. I wouldn't have been trying to tackle you running down the field like that out there. I would have had to clip your legs or something. You know what I mean? Nah. But that was a good run, man. But, y'all, I remember, didn't y'all play Florida one day in the daytime or something like that? Calvin Benjamin caught some crazy catch.
Yeah, that was freshman year. That was the championship year.
Yeah, yeah. Who we had that corner?
I don't remember, man.
I'm going to tell you. What's 15 name, dog? Purefoy.
Yeah, he
had Purefoy out there. He was decent with that game. He just kind of like, you know what I mean?
KB Stock went up fast off that game.
Oh, man. I ain't even gonna lie. I was upset that game. I was upset for sure. We were just talking about actually, when I grew up a Florida State fan. I remember one time, man, it was 97. And Florida State was number 1. They called it the greatest game ever in the swamp. And they played Florida. And Florida State wouldn't have scored with like a minute left. And they called it the play with Jacquez Green. I think he ran an out and up or something like that. And then Fred Taylor went and scored. So then I put Florida up 32-29. And I remember being a kid. I'm on pins and needles because I'm like, Florida State need to go. We number 1 team in the country. We need to score. And shoot, it went on and threw an interception and Florida won. It just broke my whole heart as a kid. I remember calling my dad on the phone like, I was like, man, Dad, they gonna pick at me at school because my team lost. And he go like, don't worry about that, Ahmad. Like, you gonna be all right. And I'm like, that's how bad I took it, bro. As you know, I'm not even playing. I'm gonna cry, bro, because I was so passionate for the game, bro. It's like, that's why I see people when they talk about Tebow when he was crying on the sideline against Alabama.
Yeah, you don't want no player that ain't got no passion.
That's
man.
Passion.
Get them off the field.
That's passion.
You ain't passionate about the game. Get out the locker room.
Man, I was just telling Prince at the shop. I said the first game we lost at in Tampa. I remember we lost the game my rookie year, and we get on the bus. These boys on there kikiing, laughing.
Yeah, that guy used to
pouring up Hennessy, and I'm like,
used to losing culture. And
I'm like, what the heck is y'all doing? Like, I just came from Florida, bro. Like, we lose a game, it's like the season over with. I'm like, what are y'all doing? And they were like, man, young blood, man, we got a new game next Sunday. I'm like, all right, you right. That's the difference in between the college game and the NFL game. It's like,
yes,
you can lose.
You always got life.
Yeah, in college, you ain't no life. Well, I don't know.
Now you got the playoffs.
You got a participation trophy with a 12-team playoff. So
yeah.
You know what I mean.
So, well, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. This was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this one getting out there.
Man, listen.
Let the people know where they can follow you.
I appreciate it, man. So on Twitter, Ahmad Black 35, AHMAD BLACK 35. Just type my name in. Instagram, same as well. I'm not really active too much on Instagram, but and Twitter either really. But I just I'll be on there. Kind of listen. I got an off season too. All right, my off season when it ain't football season, I ain't tweeting.
During football season,
in football season, I'm tweeting because don't let us win a couple games. We beat Miami first game. You gonna see all the lies I got in my drafts right now about us winning that. All right,
let me get to see because this ain't Florida State involving Florida State. Miami versus Florida first game. What's happening?
We're gonna whoop them, and you gonna see how many lies I got in my draft about us winning that championship. Because as soon as we beat them, I got a bunch of tweets in there that's like, we going to the ship.
Okay, you heard it. Florida whooping Miami first game.
We whooped them. I'm going to be there.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be bright early. My wife like to tailgate. I don't like to tailgate too much because I don't really like being around. But I'm tailgating.
Yes, sir. Make sure y'all go follow them on social media and make sure to go check out this episode. We appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to follow and subscribe on YouTube.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.